Hi everyone, I'm here with Ted Simons, founder of SchoolPHONES, a company that's been designing and delivering classroom-ready headsets for nearly 3 decades. That's 28 years of listening to teachers, parents, and students to create gear that actually holds up in real school environments. Ted and his team have taken that hands-on experience and turned it into tough, comfortable, and thoughtfully designed headphones that work for learners of all ages. From replaceable cables to crystal clear microphones, these headsets are built to last. Let's dive into the story behind SchoolPHONES and what makes their products stand out. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us what inspired you to launch SchoolPHONES nearly 3 decades ago?
Sure. My son. In first grade, I would take him to school and then head to my office. I had an hour to kill, if you will, and my wife suggested that I spend a little time in the classroom. So I went in one day and the teacher sat me down at the computer with a little girl who was trying to use the computer to learn English and Spanish. The teacher had purchased headphones for the kids to use, one for each, because she was concerned about head lice, but they were all falling apart. The little girl picked the first one up, it was broken. She went to another bag, it was broken. She went to another bag, it was broken. And it was about 6 headphones before she found one she could use. At the end of the class, I went to his teacher, Linda Key, and I said, Mrs. Key, you may not know, but I work within this industry on the pro sound side, and I'm sure I can find you headphones that would meet your need. She said that would be wonderful. I went to my office and reached out to companies that I knew across the industry and asked them to send me headphones that would prove to be affordable for schools. I amassed a quantity of about 40 headphones. I took them to the media center with 10 teachers and showed them to them. And I showed them 40 headphones and they declined 40 headphones. As a result, with my son sitting next to me and as my plane was crashing toward the earth, as I was going to fail, I decided to go back to the headphones and ask the teachers one more time if there was anything about them that they did like. And that resulted in 14 points that were going to define an appropriate headphone for the students. And back to my industry, we don't really have that in an affordable format, and therefore I was squeezed into the position of saying, okay, how do I get this solid?
What are some of the standout features that make these headsets ideal for schools?
As I said, the teachers basically identified 14 points that they considered would make a really good headphone. And I'll pick this one up to take a look at it. One was size. It needed to be appropriate for the children, for them to fit. 2, they wanted a single entry headphone because those that had a dual entry, the kids would get their hands caught in, would tangle and break away. 3, the ear cushions. There was an issue of head lice. We needed to get into a one-to-one environment. And so we talked about the various leatherette cushions and such. 4th was the length of the cable. Some had a 6-foot cable was too long, 3 feet was too short. And they ultimately decided that a 4-foot cable or 1.2 meters would really be appropriate. Then the type of cable. Would the cable be chew-proof? Not something that's possible, but resistant is possible. But more importantly, would the cable tangle? From there, the type of plug that would be used. Those were all key areas that we looked at. And from generation 1 to generation 5, that's been a continuing evolutionary process, arriving at the headphone we have today.
So you have models for both younger and older students. Can you walk us through who each headset is designed for and how they're sized?
Sure. The sizing of the headphones was basically, we wanted to be able to reach into the pre-K market, but also have it fit older children. Now, at some point, we grow up to a point where there needs to be a transition. This particular headphone, which we refer to as a K6, fits the majority of children from preschool to about 6th grade. There are some children who, at a younger age, will be bigger. They're going to be on the football player, or they're large children. And for them, we have a BK, or we call a Big Kid Series headphone. The difference in the two is a simple thing, the change of the headband. This allows us to have an additional inch of circumference on the skull. And so this one, from about 4th grade through adults, is an appropriate size. The K6, as I said, will fit pre-K to 6th grade normally. It actually fits me, and I'm a whole lot more than 6th grade.
The SpringBOOM microphone is a unique touch. How does it help with classroom or remote learning audio and testing?
Okay, we developed the SpringBOOM microphone because there are a couple of issues with a media headset in schools. The first one being durability. They're often made with basically essentially a piece of wire in the headphone, or a piece of rigid or somewhat flexible plastic that if you bend it sufficiently, it becomes deformed and no longer keeps the microphone in a proper location if it doesn't completely dangle down. My grandmother had a spring that closed her back door when I was a child, and I noticed one thing. I never was able to break the spring, so if the nails came loose, it could be launched across the backyard. But a spring gives us the durability that we require to create a very, very good microphone to be used in schools. The second advantage of it is that it allows us to create a form that positions the microphone capsule in the same location from one recording session to the next. Therefore, when the teacher's reviewing the audio, it's a consistent platform today, next week, next month, as the child is growing. So those are two of the key benefits of it. One, durability, and two, recording performance. What's unique in our boom is you'll notice there's a little curve bit, which turned out to be quite an engineering feat, as we had to come up with a standardized process to make a curved spring consistently. It's quite a challenge.
You put a lot of focus on comfort and durability. What kind of feedback have you gotten from teachers, students, or parents about this generation of your headphones?
Comfort is a critical element in the headphone design. If it's not comfortable, the children aren't going to be distracting, and the children aren't going to wear it to get the maximum benefits from it. So that's number one. Feedback from parents is we've achieved that. From teachers, we've achieved that. In terms of durability, it comes down to using materials and such to allow us to make a product that will last in the classroom. When I go back to my son's early years, it was a matter of a headphone might last from weeks to a few months, but rarely a school year. So at the outset, we wanted to build a headphone that would at least last a school year. Well, over the years, we've made more and more durable materials and products that allow us to create a product that does not last simply a year, but often 2, 3, 4, even 5 years. There will be some service and maintenance things along the way. The ear cushions may get old. They're easily changeable. You'll notice this cable, or there's no cable on this headphone. The cables are detachable and interchangeable. So that could be because they're damaged, or because the configuration of cable that's needed by a school or a new piece of equipment changes. And therefore, rather than replacing an entire headphone, a new cable creates a new headphone.
You obviously have a lot of different interface cable options for your headphones. Tell me about some of them, and how are you going to approach new interfaces in the future?
Okay, starting in the 1980s, Sony introduced a Walkman. And the Walkman revolutionized headphone connection. Prior to that, it had been a 6.3 millimeter plug that was used with guitars and microphones and a variety of things. They miniaturized it into a 3.5 millimeter plug that to this day remains essentially the standard. However, standards do change, and we're currently seeing a transition to more and more headphones that are using USB-C. Some were using USB-A. And therefore, schools are faced with, or parents are faced with, buying a headphone that's appropriate for each occasion. Well, some new equipment comes out, we need to buy new headphones, which is a waste of money. The child has a perfectly good headphone that serves them well, it was well made. Why in the world would we want to discard it just to buy another one, just to generate another sale? So what we did is we chose to use interchangeable cables. A damaged cable can be inexpensively replaced, maintaining the headphone. The change of technology allows us to keep the headphone from becoming obsolete, whether it, as I said, 3.5 millimeter, USB-A, USB-C, and in the future, who knows, USB-Z. We can stay concurrent and keep the headphone relevant to that student's use and that school's use by simply changing a relatively inexpensive cable.
So obviously you offer headphones with a 1-to-1 student to headphone ratio intention,
Right.
But you also have a lab headphone here that it looks very interesting, and one that's just on the horizon. Would you mind telling me about it?
Sure. When we first started building children's headphones, the objective was to have a 1-to-1 solution. The motivating factor for that was the presence of head lice in elementary schools. But we did run into schools that had a situation saying they simply could not budget a 1-to-1 environment for schools and didn't want to put it on the parents at the time. So we developed 15 years ago what we call our lab partner junior, which I'm going to get that over here, gives us an extraordinarily durable headphone. You'll notice the little band in the middle, which keeps it's not just pretty, it has function of keeping it from being hyperextended. But this will fit a range of children, again, from 3K to about grade 6, in a headphone that with a sanitary cover over it can be, which is this, can be slipped over like a hairnet, and therefore we don't have to worry about the head lice issue. We have the durability that can be shared from child to child because it's a little more robust body. So this has been, as I said, for 15 years, produced for that lower primary grade children. At the moment, we're doing a second generation of a lab, what we call our lab partner, which is this style of headphone, which will be coming in the fourth quarter, and it will be available again with the interchangeable cables, but will also be available in onboard SpringBOOM version will be designed, as well as a plug-in SpringBOOM microphone as we have on the Lab Partner Junior for those schools that require a mic some of the time. This is really kind of a fun product, and it follows the strengths of the Lab Partner Junior. It's been scaled up and modernized a little bit for the older kids.
On the SchoolPHONES website, it's mentioned that you guys have an amazing 1-year warranty. Mind explaining that a little bit more in depth for people?
We see ourselves not as the supplier of headphones to schools. We're parents. We care about our kids. And we see ourselves more as tech aids to a teacher in the classroom. As such, our design, manufacturing, and marketing model is one that we put as much as we possibly can into the technology. We're as efficient as we possibly can be in the distribution model with a factory to warehouse to school model. And then, okay, the product is in the school with the child. Inevitably, there will be a failure, whether the child breaks it or if we made a mistake and something is not as well designed as it could be, or there's just a materials failure. Our warranty in a one-to-one application is pretty straightforward. We ask the teachers to put the student's name on the headphone with a Sharpie, preferably the inner side of the band, and the date they gave it to them, an in-service date. And for the next year, if we and the teacher are going to decide, did that child do something that broke the headphone, or did something about that headphone fail? Typically, we receive a photograph from their phone and a little brief email, which comes to me or one of our service people. We take a quick look at it and go, yep, we understand it. We're sending a replacement. Or we may send back a question because we think maybe it's not really a total failure. We may just need to change a cable, or it may be a connection issue. So we'll have a little bit of a dialogue with the teachers. But ultimately, if it's on us and that child didn't break it, we're going to replace it. Plain and simple. On our lab headphones, on our lab headphones, the warranty is also a full year. The more robust piece, even though it's being shared by many, many children, we've made it strong enough that we have full confidence that we can warrant that product for a full year.
One of the cable options you have between USB-C and 3.5 is a magnetic disconnect option. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about this and how it helps save devices in schools?
Okay. Students are prone to have a headphone on they're wearing and get up from the machine and start to walk away forgetting it's still there, which means they're going to pull on that machine. And depending on its weight, they're either going to pull the headphone off their head or they're going to pull the machine off the desk. If they pull it off the desk, it can be a real tragedy for the school. So we developed the magnetic connection. Actually, we developed two connections. I'll start with one, which was just a plug change, which is a 3.5 millimeter plug that has a 110 degree angle, which we learned through practice is an optimum design for a child just getting up and pulling away from the machine. It will cause the machine to turn slightly and then draw it out of the plug. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a whole lot better than it is with a 90 degree plug or a straight plug. The magnetic connection comes in typically with a lab application where the children are going to get up and they may walk away from the machine. The magnetic connection allows us to have them pop away from it. They walk off with it. Oops, I got disconnected. They come back to it. The magnet will reconnect it. So it is largely there to protect the equipment on the desk from being damaged. I mean, schools spend a small fortune on technology, tablets, Chromebooks, laptops, desktops. It's really expensive hardware, and we don't want to see a relatively inexpensive component induce damage to that machine and waste that investment in the school. So we put a lot of attention into the cables, and the magnetic disconnect is probably the most elegant solution that we have. It's not typically used in a one-to-one application, as I said, but rather in a lab application. The 3.5 millimeter angle plug, however, when we're using it with a 3.5 interconnect, is a really, really good solution to dramatically reduce the damage to machines that occurs because of plugs.
Are there any new features or product updates on the horizon that you're excited about and you want to share with us?
There are a couple of them. Some of them have been in the works since before COVID came along. The first one being for language education is what we call a fold-back USB audio adapter. When children are working in a foreign language and they put a headphone on, basically the headphone masks them hearing their own ears. It's basically plugging their ears. And two things happen with that. One, they're not able to monitor the audio that they're attempting to replicate when they learn a language. And two, when your ears are plugged like that, you tend to speak more loudly, and therefore you're putting more noise into the classroom. This particular USB-A adapter allows us to fold the voice back in real time. Now, people go, well, why do we need that? Well, can't the computer do that? Well, if computers do that, the audio goes into the computer, it's digitized, then it's de-digitized, and returned to the ear. And what happens is we get a factor of latency, which sounds like an echo. This device actually brings your voice back in real time. So as you speak, you hear yourself. Now you modulate your voice accurately and properly, so we get a better outcome in the education aspect. And to put it into USB-C, it's simply a matter of adding an A to C adapter. The logic behind this is, again, for protection of the machine. If the kids get up and walk away from it, it's going to pull out and protect the machine. That's one. Two, many years ago, our parent company, Enhanced Listening Technologies Corp., developed what we call OGS headphones. Now, in the market, you'll find a lot of people that are saying they have open sound headphones today. They are basically a spin-off from our technology from 16 years ago of OGS, Open Guided Sound, where we wanted to create for tour guides an earphone that goes on a tour could be aware of the environment around them, partly for spatial preference and pleasure, but also for safety, and still hear the tour guide as they go along. And it's been quite a successful product, but never really reached mass merchants. Now, this piece is something that we're in the process right now, and we expect to bring to market very shortly, is the same idea. We have an open ear headphone, so that when I put it on, I'm still fully aware of the world around me, but now I'm able to talk and communicate with people aware of my spatial environment, but also still able to listen. Now, the original concept for this headphone comes out of dealing with airline reservations people who are now working from home, and they're not really aware of what the audio quality is that I'm hearing as a passenger, and they're not really aware of their home. This headphone will resolve much of that and make it more comfortable in a work-at-home environment. And we do believe that there are going to be applications for it in the education channel. And we've been here at the ISTE convention. We've had a number of educators and technology folks who are in agreement with us. We think we've identified that there is a place in the education market for OGS, and we're really excited about that. We already talked about our Big Kids headphone, lab headphone, and this tool is designed in many modular aspects so that as the school market develops and as the needs develop, maybe for scholastic gaming and things of that nature, we'll be able to modify the circuitry and such within this tool to meet the needs of those areas of the school market.
It seems like your pricing model is designed not to punish smaller schools. Do you mind explaining that a little bit more to me?
There are a number of reasons that we price our headphones as we do. We have to make a certain number of headphones in each batch. Typically, it's around 25,000. So to me, as the manufacturer and the vendor, I need to sell 25,000 headphones. And a small school contributes to that ability to meet that production, as does a large one. And to simplify things in the order process, we treat everyone as a very big school. So everyone gets the lowest possible price that we can deliver the product for. Our objective, going back to the very first thing that we outset here, our objective is to put the very, very best technology we can in the hands of every student at the very lowest possible price we can achieve. And simplifying everything from factory to delivery is a prime focus for us.
All right, and finally, first off, thank you so much for your time. And where can people learn more or get in touch if they want to try SchoolPHONES out for themselves?
The easiest way to find SchoolPHONES is through our website, which is schoolphones.com. We also maintain a Facebook page, which I have to admit I'm really, really bad about keeping it current, but I'm trying hard. But through those two portals, that's a very good way to access us. You can also find us by telephone. We are at 800-286-3481.